edition of the Frontrunner podcast. This evening, a lot of events have been happening, latest news around the world of football in the country. Joining me tonight is the former Orlando Pirates captain, a man who also can tell us more about the AFCON with the Zim Warriors, and also one of the founder members. I think you're one of the founder members, Eddie, of Ajax Cape Town as well, eh? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see today on our agenda a lot of interesting matters, especially concerning the black and white team, but we'll be touching on that. Annabelle Dina is joining us. And yes, 10 years later, you remember we were hosting the world during the World Cup, and we are also privileged to be having a member of Mufana in that World Cup squad, Shoaib Walters, also a former goalkeeper at Team of Choice. Also been to the now defunct Black Aces. In fact, I think Aces is playing in the lower structures now. Shoaib, good evening, and also welcome to tonight's edition, gentlemen.
Thank you, Balile, and good evening to all the listeners and viewers out there.
Yeah. In fact, I think let's start with you, Shoaib. Very interesting. To us as football scribes, the confirmation of DStv as the new sponsor for the PSL and when it comes to the Premier Division, Premier League, it was a well-kept secret, especially in the last month or so. What was your immediate reaction to see DStv now coming on board, not just as the rights holders of the PSL, but now coming in as a replacement to ABSA for the Premiership?
Yeah, I think it's good for South African football, but I also think it's good for them, and it's good for the investors at the end of the day, with multi-choice as well coming on board. And I honestly think they came on board to lure in more potential sponsors in the future. And I think they're also trying to set some type of precedence when it comes to that. And I think with them setting the lead, I think it will then obviously bring in a lot more or potential other sponsors on board. I think it's good for South African football, at least now also with the TV rights like you're talking about. We could potentially look at getting a lot more NFD, Glad Africa games on being televised. And I think it could be a start of a new good journey for even that league that's below ours. And we can try and where we can get equal amount of games in the Glad Africa as well. Not only just as much PSL games, more also in the Glad Africa. So I think in that sense, it's a good thing. And like I said from the at the beginning, to obviously end of that part of the discussion, it's good for South African football that they've come on board. I do know that there was a few other competitors, 2 or 3 others that was also pushing to sponsor the PSL. But yeah, good for DStv, and I think they're going to have a prosperous partnership.
Yeah, very interesting, because from what I've been seeing, for me, people also tend to confuse yesterday's developments with the broadcasting deal. Well, the broadcasting deal is a separate deal, that of DStv, MultiChoice, or SuperSport International, whichever way we like to call it. So this one is specifically just on the league, and it's got nothing to do with the TV rights. But maybe from your side, Eddie, when you look at DStv. What do you think maybe they can do differently to ABSA? ABSA was a bank, so obviously they come on board and they are focusing more on driving their own agenda in terms of how would they like to get a return on investment on this one. But looking at DStv, DStv is all over the continent, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa. Maybe there are opportunities here, both for the broadcaster, the sponsor that is, and also the rights owners, the PSL.
Yeah, Babi Zebonke, that's what they call it, and I think it says it all. And I think most of the things that I wanted to say, Shwaibi has touched on them. I think it's also going to be good for broadcasting games, you know, as you said, all over the continent, which is good, and also trying to lure as many sponsors as they can. But I think what we're waiting for right now, I think, is for the package as to how much the league is going to be worth, and who else also is going to be in the package, so that everybody will be clear as to, you know, okay, are the other lower divisions going to be involved in there? Everybody's waiting to hear that. I think we can only wait until, I think, is it Wednesday next week, when the chairman is going to be, you know, addressing the people, and so that everybody will have an idea of what DStv is all about.
Mm-hmm. Also joining us is the Kaizer Chiefs product. Mr. Kelvin Sosibo is also been to Maritzburg United as well. Domination of team of choice here, I have to say. Well, Kelvin, we will touch later on your team of the season, your PSL 11. I see it's generating a lot of interest.
That is good for a show. That is good for a show.
Yeah, but tell me something, because now we have the reserve league, that is the multi-choice Diski, and obviously they also have a cup competition, the Diski Shield as well. And we have the big league, the PSL, also in the same stable from multi-choice as well. So it tells you something about the domination of the broadcaster when it comes to football. But I guess during these times of COVID, it's about who is prepared to fork out the money, right?
Yeah. For sure, on my side, I think maybe DStv came at the right time, where most of the companies are actually withdrawing from the league. But again, to keep the league going as well, it's good to see them coming through and also coming to boost up the league. When it comes to the ABSA made its way out, and DStv coming in with a lot of things that are actually on the pipeline for them. But it's also nice to see that as a brand, they're expanding more and more and more, and actually getting more viewers.
Mm-hmm. Eddie, you are in the space. On the technical side of the game, you run an academy yourself. As much as, yes, we are talking about super sport, in fact, DStv coming on board now as a league sponsor, I know that this is something that could be a bit far from them, but if for me there's one area that really seems to be lacking in the league, it's the quality of talent that is coming through, and part of that also has got to do with lack of proper structures, especially with some clubs. You know, you feel maybe in a way as a platform which is also showing a number of leagues from around the world. Maybe this partnership, especially around the league now, DStv is another agenda they can drive with the PSL to improve the quality on the technical side in terms of how these clubs are also organizing themselves technically.
Yeah, I think it's one element that we also, we are waiting to hear from the DStv package, exactly like how are they going to prepare the lower leagues. I mean, if you go to junior levels, that there are also talented youngsters there, but they don't get the opportunity of being noticed unless, you're playing for one of those called the big teams. So it affects these youngsters that whenever they try to do their best, they are not recognized. So I think if the DStv has, or if between the DStv and the PSL, they've agreed that let's go way back, to the development and see how much we can try and help them, so that it will be easy for the people that are being part of those juniors to grow. Because it's very easy to have youngsters that you can just take to bigger clubs, and then they just go and then they excel there. But what happens to the other ones that are really trying to express themselves, but they cannot be seen? So we're just hoping that the deal between the DStv and then PSL would really come and then help the clubs in the lower divisions.
Belile,
Sure,
I
Kelly.
think within that said, Eddie has actually pointed out, I think DStv has done a tremendous job in terms of trying to give recognition to the younger boys, which is they've created the MDC for their soccer to actually to be shown on TV. So it prepares also the youngsters in terms of when they come into the bigger league, in terms of stage fright and television and so forth. There's something that they are aware of, and also there's interviews that are being run in the interim. So it prepares player mentally if they get into a professional setup in terms of how they need to position themselves in answering questions and being a full professional.
Mm-hmm. Shoaib, I'm saying this. Unfortunately, you are someone who's also been to Cape Town City, right? I'm saying this because your former boss, John Committees, recently in a webinar, he said the PSL, when it comes to compliance manuals and having standards for a number of things off the field, they've got that, But on the technical side, there appears to be less emphasis on, especially around compliance manual. So, and he was also acknowledging that maybe they could be better organized on that side, the importance of having the academies, the importance of also those academies being graded, and also even the people who are working in those academies be people of high quality, also with good qualifications as well, maybe with good credentials and track records as well. So that is an area that I feel maybe now to have quality footballers. Yes, it's all good to talk about the PSL that is doing well commercially, but also the quality of play, the standard on the field should match the top dollar that is being paid by the sponsors.
Yes, you actually answered the question. You actually answered the same question that you asked, and that's why I say I'm just going to echo what you just said now, and that is exactly the problem that we have in South Africa, is that South Africa is the, they say South Africa is the best league on the continent, but we actually not the best. They need to define that. When they say best league, is it well run? Yes, we are. Commercially, yes, we are. And like you're saying now, for me, the bottom line is investing in our technical, in our coaches. Like I just had a conversation 2 nights ago with a LFA club, and they explained to me that they have a coaching manual that they got from a coach that is currently now coaching in the PSL, but he's not even there at the LFA. But they have the manual from him, and then they have dads coaching. Now, when you ask the dads, what are you doing with the manual? Then he says, no, they're not following the manual. So my thing is, this is, why are we not investing more time and effort? And we all on the panel over here are coaching youth players, and we know what is needed. And unfortunately, years of a little bit of politics here and there has affected us that actually want to do something about developing good youngsters. And like even Sos is talking about how to present yourself when in camera, when on camera. I'm talking about, for example, in my department, goalkeeping, proper techniques for young goalkeepers. Eddie is teaching his youngsters how to read the game as a defender. So we have the ideas and we investing, but the 5, 10, 15 years ago, the coaches that was educated, they didn't have a continuity for us now. Now we need to restart. Bottom line for me is we need to invest more in our coaches and a curriculum and proper structures, and there must be courses all the time so that we can invest there. And from investing in good coaches, as in we were all maybe good players, we might not have been good coaches because we need to do our coaching courses to become good coaches, and I feel that is where we're lacking. And for my personal experiences, I sat almost a year and a half trying to get a goalkeeper coach, trying to go onto a goalkeeper coach course, and I was in contact with the SAFA instructor, Alex Heredia. He will tell you, and he can confirm it. He says there's no budget, or they don't have a facility for us. You can speak to him, and he'll tell you, and that is where I feel we are lacking, and you're 100% in that.
Mm-hmm. Now, just to wrap up on this new deal of DStv Premiership, a lot has been said, Kelvin, about the trophy. I know that even when ABSA came, they continued a bit with a trophy that was not really popular, but then the trophy that they had after that was the one that was acceptable. And maybe one, I would have preferred that they continue with a trophy which was similar to the one ABSA had. What do you make of the trophy which was unveiled yesterday?
I think on my side, I think over time we're going to get used to the trophy, because I don't know whether they're mirroring in terms of when it comes to the MDC Cup, or they put in the similar structure, because the trophy looks exactly the same. So are they trying to send a message to us that maybe they're gonna grow from strength to strength from whatever that they've developed? We don't know. We'll wait and see. But over time, I think people will actually get used to the trophy, even though it's not the popular. But maybe they can improve with us being in the panel and people also wanting maybe a change or have a little bit of dynamic in terms of the trophy.
Mm-hmm. Does it really matter, Shoaib?
No, I don't think it really matters the way the trophy looks. But I think Sosi actually just touched on it now, and I think it's probably where they want to now basically indirectly give you the message of it's like a father and son. So the father is the PSL and the son is the MDC. So it's like they're trying to show you that there's a partnership there. There's that family type of thing. So we don't want to have two different things. Whereas you must know it's actually two different identities under one umbrella. And I think that is maybe why it's there's so much similarities between the two.
Okay, Eddie, I am not going to give you the opportunity and that these two gentlemen had, because they are both on the fence on this one. Is it nice or ugly for you?
Velile, I'm very sorry. I kind of lost you guys there. I don't know what was happening.
The new DStv Premiership Trophy.
Oh wait, no, it's beautiful. I love it. I think it's. I don't know. Honestly speaking, it's when I looked at it, I was like, wow, okay. It looks more like the World Cup trophy, but the difference is that it has got handles, which is very nice. So I wish I was still playing and could lift that one up. So I'll give that one a thumbs up.
In fact, it's a good thing that I have to start with you on this next topic, because now we have to look at some signings. And one of the clubs, well, it was also another West Cape secret. Orlando Pirates unveiling Tyson and Dion Hoto earlier in the week, and then coming with Terence Zuvugamanja and also Collins Mahaka. There's something that I was looking at, very interesting, how some of our guys on Twitter also, they follow some of these things. Pro Pilari on Twitter was compiling the signings that Pirates has been making over the past few seasons. And it's interesting that Pirates, if you are to just count from the last 2 seasons, including now, I think they are making their 24th or 25th signings now. But we will touch on that. Terence, I guess it was inevitable that, especially with the way he also finished the season in the bio bubble, and how also clinical he's been in some matches in the final third, it was not surprising, Eddie, that he would make this move, because I know that it was either SuperSport United or Orlando Pirates.
Yeah, I think he is definitely a very good player. A left-footed, and I was actually thinking about it that him and Hoto plays more or less the same position, and so it's going to be a healthy competition. And given their track records, when they were at Vets, they did well, both of them, and Zugamanja scoring crucial goals for Vets too, and Hoto always comes to the party whenever he's needed. So I think it's good for Pirates that they have those 2 players playing for the same position, and so it's all about fighting who's going to play. I mean, who's going to start. But as I said, that I was hoping that maybe Hoto, if Zugamanja was not there, Hoto would be the first preference. But now that Zugamanja is also there, so it's going to give the coaches a bit of a headache as to who is going to start with. But good move for him, and I just hope that he will rise to the occasion, because the people at the supporters at Orlando Pirates. Once you join that team, you need to be at your best. You need to perform. Otherwise, they will make you send your bags. You go pack your bags and then go back to Zimbabwe. But I just hope that you'll be being strong enough and be able to compete. But I think it's a very good signing for Orlando Pirates. Yeah.
And how do you think they can use him in that Pirates attack? You already have got a lot of options there, and I guess they also have to afloat some of the foreign players that they have as well. How do you see him being utilized in that final third?
I think the same way that they were using him when he was at Vets. I mean, if you look at mostly on their left side, I think the Pule was the main guy that was really operating from that side, but he would drift again, go to the right. So I think they wanted somebody that is going to be on the left to bringing those crosses, and also to score goals, of which we know that Mango was the one that was doing most of the scoring goals there. And now with Zugamanja being there, he also gets into the final third at the right time and be able to score goals. I think that's one thing that I was looking at Orlando Pirates.
But here, Shoaib, you have a Pirates that has got Dion Hoto, that has got Pule on that left side. You also have maybe, okay, you can consider Sam and Innocent Mayela more at left back, but also there's Marco as well, and you can only start one at the time, so it's very interesting.
Look, for me is when I look at it, you can also play 4-3.
At Memela there, if we were to talk about left-footed players.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, I think what we can take out of the bio bubble, and even before that, is the whole concern for Orlando Pirates was scoring goals. They were creating goals, yes, they were, but they needed obviously goal scorers, and I think Otto has proven, even in the bio bubble, even Zukamanja. But even if I look at the formation that they play 4-3-3 formation. Pule, I won't really look at as an out and out, left-sided player. He's more of a central. He's similar to somebody like Gerald Piri that at Baraka as well. Yeah. So he's something like that where they're left-footed, but they're more comfortable playing centrally. And then in the 4-3-3 formation, I could use Zukamanja on inside left, and then I could use Otto as one of the three center forwards. And the nice thing about the two is that they can play out and out left, but they can also play on a left inside. So in that situation, and Otto, I could also use as a second. I would also use him as a second striker at times, because he has the pace, he has the timing of his runs, playing on the shoulders of defenders. So he does that well. So you could even use him in that sense. I think it just brings a little bit more competition in the Orlando Pirates camp, and it also brings more of a variety of types of strategies and types of plays. Remember, we're not yet past the stages of football where you get left-footed players playing on the right-hand side as well. I mean, Ribery and Robben was phenomenal at Bayern Munich, playing on opposite sides. So you could have that as an option as well. And it's very difficult for a left-footed player playing even on the right-hand side, taking on the opposition's left back, cutting in, So those are the things that all modern-day coaches are looking at, and that's the modern-day football now.
Good point there, because Pirates also, with their approach, they are more vetted wingers than outright wingers who will just push in across, So I guess that's where the advantage. You can have Hoto, you can even have Pule starting in the same game, playing at different ends. But Kelvin, there's also been now the talk of, has Paris been really prioritizing the positions where they needed to strengthen, especially going back to the CAF interclub competitions. I remember last season, one of the things they were talking about just before Coach Mitchell left was to find a center back and also to get a goalkeeper and maybe add some firepower up front. And these are two things that they are yet to address currently. I know that the preseason, in fact, the transfer window is just opened this week. They could still address that, but because the feeling is that there's an oversupply of attackers, especially midfielders at Orlando Pirates. And already, if you can count, out of the 4 they've signed now, it's only 1 defender.
Yeah, I think overall, in terms of the firing power, I think they have enough right now, because as we said, playing with the inverted wingers, it actually gives a balance in the middle. So with Zukamanja also added on the squad, gives them that hope that they can actually finish clinically on the last final third. So when it comes to the defensive line, and they brought in Tajayo, which is more of a stable defender, disciplined defender to help out with Happy Jele, which is, I think it's a very good combination between the two. I think the position that they're still struggling with right now is actually the keeper. Should maybe they find another keeper that is well strong, I think it will actually form up a good balance at the back. Because when it comes to the middle and the striking position, I think they are fairly balanced when it comes to that position. The only position that is lacking at the moment, I think it will be more on the keeper side. Because as we know, Sunderland has never had actually one of the best games. Even the keepers that are backing him up.
I'm sure most Paganas will disagree with you on Sunderland. Maybe we can address the issue of consistency, but I felt, especially also in the bubble, if it were not for him, Paris would have dropped some points, a lot of points there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, we have to look at it in terms of an overall performance. You can't have drips and drops as a keeper, because any mistake that you make as a keeper costs the whole team. So consistency, yes, I would say that it boils down to that. But yet again, they need somebody to back him up in terms of the experience, because if he's out, then who are you going to look up to?
There's a keeper in the house.
No, I agree with I disagree with Sosi when it comes to his performances, because he did relatively well. Not only in the bio bubble, I think he was to a certain degree quite consistent. But I do believe that they need to look for the future. That is where I'm thinking. So a stiff competition for him this year, and potentially, like we all know, Orlando Pirates is a big fan of Richard Ofori. And for me, as much as I would like Richard to rather play in Europe, and I think he could play in a better league than South Africa, because I think he's definitely got what it takes to do that. If the opportunity were to come to go to Orlando Pirates, I think it would be a good stone for him, because he's got somebody like Wayne Sandilands that would compete with him, that would be there when is required, but he would be a long-term successor, because at the moment it's just short-term, and Pirates needs to look long-term when it comes to the goalkeeping department. And I think Richard would be a perfect fit. He knows South African football. I think that is the problem with Orlando Pirates and the last couple of goalkeeper signings was players. I mean, you look at the second choice now, the French goalkeeper. He's not familiar to South African football, so it's going to take him a while to adjust. And you don't have that time. You don't have that time with the supporters. You don't have that time with the public. You don't have that time with Falele, because 2-3 games Falele is going to, as the sports journalist, is going to be on your case. So in that sense, Orlando Pirates needs a goalkeeper that's familiar with South African football, and I think Richard Ofori would be a good competitor for Sandilands.
Yeah, no, I also think maybe Joris Dele has not really done enough. Maybe if Pirates were to consider if they need an extra spot, he could be one of the of the victims there. But I mean, look, there's also been a talk of Brendan Peterson coming on board, joining from the now defunct Bidvest Reds. But I think also you're making a very good point on Richard Ofori, when you consider that he's also Ghana's number one for the Black Stars, and we've seen how it also helped someone like Dennis Onyango. He would be playing in top matches for Sundowns in the league and also in the CAF Champions League. And when it's international week, he's leading the Ugandan Cranes as well. So it also helps when you have a number one. There's another number one who was linked with Orlando Pirates in this window, not from here in the country, but for one of the top countries on the continent. I don't know how that one ended up, but I'm also more interested now, Eddie, when you look at the Pirates squad. I'm going back to the point that was being made by Pro Pilani on Twitter. Pirates, in terms of signing, they've been averaging 10, 11 players a season. They are currently sitting on 4, and very soon maybe that number will move to 5 or 6 in terms of signing players. How disruptive is something like this when you build a project and you bring in more players? Doesn't it affect how you're structuring your team for the season in terms of combinations? Because you constantly make a lot of changes because you bring in a number of players. For instance, Sundowns only brought in 3 players and they loaned 1 out from the 3 last season. They are making wholesale changes now because you can see that their team is aging. But with the Paganias, they constantly make all these changes.
Yeah, I think, listen, I think it will disrupt the coach's, tactical plays, because, once you're bringing new players again from the ones that you had last season, if the ones that have been signed are being forced that all of them, they need to play, then that's a completely new team again. So now it will disrupt where you left last season, and now probably you just wanted to improve. Maybe you need 1 or 2 players to come in, fit in, and then can just continue from where you left last season. Because if you remember, Pirates last season, they were actually doing very well and being able to finish third on the log. So I think now bringing in 5, 6 new players again, and then all of them, they're expected to go and play, it will disrupt again whatever the coach that he wanted to do compared to what he did last season. So I think, as I said before, it's just a matter of getting the players that you really want, and then add on to that, and then that's it. I mean, if you look at Collins that came from Baroka United, he played 13 games last season. Now he comes into Pirates, and he is going to be the 12th mid. We're not talking about the outside midfielders. We're talking about the central midfielders. He's going to be the 12th midfielders to be there. Like now, so out of those 12, you probably only need 3 that are going to play. So is it necessary to have him, despite the fact that he's being compared to Sex Fabregas? I don't know. Probably that could be the reason why he's being signed. But in terms of attacking midfielders, they've got plenty. I think the only thing that was missing was the firepower up front, that they should give Mango some support, that he mustn't be the only one that needs to score goals. Let's have another player that might be, assist him in terms of scoring goals. So I think that's unless if we're saying that every player that is good, or every player that's available, then they need to sign him. Then let it be like that. Or maybe it's a case of them competing with Sundowns, that Sundowns is signing, so let's also sign players. Then we don't know.
Very interesting point. I don't know what's your take on that one, Kelvin, because we've seen. Yes, I know that people will say, well, they are going back to the CAF convert, but last season they signed more because they also wanted to make the group stages again after they had made the quarterfinals, I think, in the previous CAF Champions League. So maybe it was a disaster that they got knocked out very early in the competition. But this time around, when you look at the composition of the squad that Bucks has, and we're still talking about the key areas that they need to also beef up. I'm sure because they are very much linked with Msimango from Highlands Park now of TS Galaxy, and but they're not alone there. I know one other team that is going from Msimango as well. How do you balance now in terms of addressing creating space, creating space for those players who are coming in? I mean, there are players like Mowawo, there are players like Sam, there are a number of players in that Pirates squad who are not even making the bench, sitting on the stands, So there has to be a clear out there.
Yeah, I think more or less Pirates would actually, as much as they've signed more players, I also think they're also going to clear some players or loan some players out just to make space for the other players that are actually coming in. Because now, since they are going back to CAF again, as we know, I think this balance that maybe that they've got, they saw that's the balance that is going to help them to compete in the CAF. Even though the last season when they signed, maybe things didn't work out into plan. But now it's a new season and they are actually in the CAF Cup. So I think that relief is needed, as like now they have more midfielders, and the most Achilles part that was actually threatening for them was the striking department. So within that now being halfly fixed, I think it's going to be a good competition, even though some of the players that are coming in are not just going to be walk-in players, but some of them have to probably work a little bit extra in order to earn their space. But a player like Tyson, I think, is going to fit in automatically. Player like Hoto as well will fit in automatically. Reason being is because Hoto plays more direct on the side more than Vincent. So at least now we're going to have some more balls being fed into Mango to actually to finish on the critical dead. And also we have to command.
I want to go back to the Pirates captain, the former Pirates captain. You've got Tyson, he's just arrived, you know? Do you go on? I know that some clubs have got a committee of captains. Do you go on and make him a vice captain? Maybe to prepare him to take over from Majens, that is Happy Jele in time to come?
Yeah. I think that's the whole idea. His leadership skills are good, and probably yes, because of Happy aging as well. I think it's going to be a good candidate for him to actually take the team and spearhead into the right direction, as he's also in the national team setup. So I think they've got themselves a gem on that position, and somebody that will actually sustain the position itself, or create still give the team structure in terms of leadership.
Mm-hmm. In fact, on this point, Eddie, you think the fact that he's also the national team captain also makes it logical that he plays a part in wearing the armband?
It depends, it depends what the club, the history of the captains are made of. I think if you look at even all over the world, I mean, you can see a person being the captain of their country. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can be the captain of your club. I mean, Orlando Pirates, because Happy has been the captain, because he has been with the club, he knows the culture of the club, and then so Tyson coming in, being the vice captain, I mean, being the captain of South Africa. Yes, I see it like what Source has said, that he can come in and be the vice captain of Happy Jen, because of the leadership that he has when he was still at Vets, and because of the national team. So I think they will give it to him.
Yeah, I guess when you look in that Pirates team, also previously the issues of leadership. If you look at a lot of Pirates team which won back-to-back trebles, there was luckily Khwati there. There were the likes of Benny McCarthy. They were also at
Joseph.
Yes, Sangweni as well, Monip Joseph, and also besides just being and some of the players they had were also captain in their countries, So I guess it's something that also helps. I mean, you look at Virgil van Dijk at Liverpool, is the captain of the Dutch national team, but also is the vice captain at Liverpool now. But this point that we also coming to now about the captaincy, Shwaib. I know that with Happy Jele, if you look at, they've been extending his contract by an extra year. But now, and he played a lot of matches. You feel that maybe now, especially now that they've got Tyson, and they could find maybe even another young defender to have that solid back four, especially also in the central defense. Maybe going forward now, they must use him wisely.
Yes, no, definitely. I think that is the plan. I still think that they do still need another central defender. And like you said now, they need a young central defender that they can groom. Because now you have You have the two perfect people that you can look up to, that you can learn from, that can teach you, because you have Tyson, which is an experienced defender, but he's still obviously at a young age, and you have Appicelli that can teach you leadership skills. So both of them to complement the young. I mean, I don't want to throw it in there and show biasness and stuff, but I mean, they have shown interest in, and we all know Fadlu David is a big admirer of the Ryuk at Maritzburg. Perfect. Bring him in. You have Appicelli teaching him how to be a leader. You have Tyson teaching him, or you can learn from. You can only but grow, and that, I think, is maybe what Pirates' problem has been, is that they're chopping and changing each season. But really, what we also need to take into consideration is that there was a coach change. Remember, so obviously Jay-Z couldn't go in January and say, "Oh, I want to make wholesale changes." He needed to give each one an opportunity and see who he wants to use. So obviously the changes he's making now is obviously his changes. Back to the defenders, I think Appicelli should be the club captain. Tyson, when Appicelli is not playing, obviously Tyson should take over, but when Appy's playing, he should be the club captain. And they will obviously be able to monitor with a fitness coach how much games he can play, which games he can play. But when he does play, I think he should be captain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's one thing I admire about Appicelli, besides just the leadership qualities. But after each and every game, if you notice, and you go to the passes completed, one of the highest contributor
Yes.
there is always Appicelli. I guess it reminds me of a topic Rolani once brought up. I think it was in a youth coaching seminar in Johannesburg Stadium at that time, that in the modern game, how important this position. In fact, if you look now, some of the most expensive players around the world are centre backs, and especially those who specialize with good passing.
Yeah, if you look at even Robin Johannes, when he was at Cape Town City as the captain for 2 years as centre back, he also was I think he was above 85% for majority of the season with completion passes, and it wasn't only sideways passes, because most of his was forward. So they are the point of attack after the goalkeeper, obviously. So they are the next point of attack. So it's very important, and that is why I'm saying that these are the things that a young defender can pick their brain. He can take a page out of each of those defenders' books, whichever of their strengths are, and become a very, very good defender. So I think, yeah, it is time now for them to look at grooming a good young central defender.
Still with you. In fact, maybe let me ask this to Calvin. I know that last month, Phumlani Ntshangase looked more to be a Kaizer Chiefs player, pending obviously the issue of the transfer ban or with the appeal. But all of a sudden, he's moved to Maritzburg United permanently. And now when you also think about it, Ntshangase was previously at Bidvest Wits, and he left because he was not really playing under Gavin. Obviously, in the earlier seasons, he had been playing, but he was on loan to SuperSport United, then Maritzburg. You think maybe there is a possibility that the change of technical team at Chiefs could have contributed to this?
Firstly, I would just say that I think for Ntshangase, for him to actually go to Maritzburg on loan and getting game time for him, I think it was good, because now it has actually put him back on track, and more interest is actually trickling in now, which is coming in for him, which is good. For Maritzburg, for acting so swiftly and not dilly-dallying like most of the other teams will actually do, I think it was a good signing for them, because they needed more in terms of in that position to actually consolidate their squad. For the technical team, when it comes to Chiefs having maybe an influence on that, maybe I feel maybe Gavin would have said, nah, maybe I'm not gonna need him because he knows him in and out and has worked with him. So I think he saw maybe it wasn't going to be like a good fit for him. As maybe he still maybe might say, okay, maybe I'm looking to see on what's happening with Monaring to actually to bring him in because he was always a first starter ahead of him.
Yeah, and in fact, from what I understand, that he could have even ended up at Swallows this week. From what I understand, but I guess for him it was also, if you're not making a big move, rather continue where you were, and also the coach there also understands how to use you.
Isn't it? Sorry, Sosi, but isn't it also the registration ban that is affecting the decision also? The Chiefs ban. I don't know. I'm just asking. Isn't that also maybe because if they didn't come up with a decision over whether Chiefs can register players or not or sign players, and now he rejects the offer to Maritzburg, wanting, for example, to go to Chiefs, and then Maritzburg signs another player in his position, and Chiefs' ban is not lifted for signing players, then he's stuck again.
But nothing stops you from being signed. The only thing Chiefs cannot do now is to register players. Yeah, even the ban that FIFA imposed was very clear on that. But the one thing they cannot do is to register players. And also when you sign, you don't just sign for only one season, because this transfer ban thing, if the appeal is not successful at CAS, is only going to affect Chiefs for one season. You know, so players can go to other clubs, come back to their
mother clubs,
after just one season. Just like some of the players were already in the back there. You know what I mean? If things don't go their way. Because the other thing is, Eddie, as someone who's also been running in this space, you also don't want to lose out on the good talent that's available now. Because the way of planning is that you are not going to wait for the ban. Because let's say the appeal is successful. You just have to implement some of the decisions. So in the case of Chiefs, they can't really wait for the verdict to come out and then start acting.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think you have said it. I think the best thing, listen, is to, if I were Kaizer Chiefs, I would sign the players that I want, and then loan them out, and then go and play in another teams. So in case the ban is lifted, and then I can still get my players back. So if you wait for the decision, and then now you're gonna lose out on the talent, like you said, players they'll get signed by other teams, and then in the end you end up not even have the best players that you wanted. So I think it's rather sign the players and then load them out.
Exactly. And then we now move to Swallows. They've been very busy in the market. I'm not sure from you who has been more consistent on watching games in the Glad Africa Championship, but I've watched some few matches of Free State Stars, and I find Daniel Goza to be a big striker up front. Maybe it's a type of a striker that Swallows needed. I know that at the beginning of this year they tried to get Mbesuma as well, but I think they were just not successful. And look at someone who also scored double figures for Free State Stars in Daniel Goza, the Canadian striker. He's definitely a good addition for them.
Yeah, I think for me the way Swallows is going as in a point of reference. They're going for a striker that's actually going to hold up play for them, and then mobilize in terms of the width play. Because if you know Swallows, they apply more of a 4-3-3 conversion into a 4-4-2 in terms of when they are defending. So having a striker of that magnitude, I think it's going to work for them pretty well, because they've got creative midfielders as well that they brought into the helm, which is Najama. which is actually going to assist in terms of feeding off from the big striker. So if the attention is more on the striker, and then it gives way, as our coaches have seen, he's a more of a coach that likes to play with wingers as well.
Mm-hmm. And Eddie, you were coming in on this point before I go to Shuaib. I look at how they've been signing. This week, they've announced Musanya Dama already. They also started by renewing some of the contracts of their players. And so they are mixing experience, but also with, when you look at Muketsi Makanya, one of the players who's much talked about from the beginning of the season already, from JDR. And you look at now getting, I think they've got Kagiso Malinga, who was the top goal scorer, I think with 9 goals. Now they've taken him. He was on loan from SuperSport United. So I guess now he's more on a permanent deal. And they've just added Litlabiga, but I want to discuss Litlabiga with Shoaib Walters because he comes from the Celtic side as well. So they seem to be blending the experience, but also the excellence and quality from the Glad Africa Championship with some of their key players as well.
Yeah, you see, I must give a lot of credit to Swallows' technical team. They've done actually a phenomenal job because firstly, the core of the Glad Africa team, Virgil Fries, Buyo Mere, Cheese Boy, did phenomenal for them the whole season and kept them there because that's the core of the team. Then the other advantage that they had is they played against all the other Glad Africa teams. So they could pick and pinpoint which of the best players they are in that league. Daniel Koza took him. Then they went and they said, okay, Musa Niantama, we need some creativity, which is also experience. We sign him. Ruzaicha Mildin, which I think is going to do very well under Brakis Brandon next year because he's at the right mentality now. He's matured, and I think that's right. When you talk about Litlabika, I think that's a very good signing because I was about to say that they need more in defense. They need reinforcements in defense. I think Litlabika always wanted to move from Bloemfontein, but the last time he couldn't move was because of the injury. He had a long-term injury. I think he always wanted to obviously try different things in his career because you can become a little bit stagnated and complacent when you're at one club for too long. And I mean, he's been there for 7 years since 2013. So I think it's a good challenge for him. And I'm actually excited to see Morocco Swallows next season.
Yeah, very interesting, especially when there's also consistency in terms of the technical team as well. They are just implementing some good decisions from their side. But another player, I'm not sure we spoke about him on Monday, Eddie Hamaldin. I mean, I was surprised that Hamaldin even disappeared at some stage and went down to the NFD. But for me, always been a quality player. We also saw him at Chippa United, especially also from set plays as well, how effective he is in that space. And definitely going to be one of the key players in that Swallows team.
Yeah, I mean, history speaks for itself. I mean, if you look at him, the games that he has played, the teams that he's played for, he has proven that he can score goals. You know, if he plays game in, game out, he is one player that you can actually, rely on. But the fact that I'm sure, I think from 2010 up until now, he has literally played for 10 teams. If you look at his history, so it's like every club, every year he is playing for a club. But besides that, I mean, look at his scoring history and his type of play. I think he's one that's gonna be doing all the work, providing for the attackers to score goals, and also because he's got a very good engine that he can go and then come back, and he's a very good grafter. He works very hard. So I think it will be a very good signing for Morocco Swallows.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, Valile, just to touch on that, the beginning of the season, he was actually at the Glad Africa team. and he scored 10 goals in
Yeah,
15
10
games before he went to Chipper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you know, that's why I also said that I think he's at the right state of mind now mentally to take up a new challenge out of in another province with Morocco Swallows.
Yeah. And also when you look at the players who will be surrounding him now, being here in Gauteng, I think he's got a lot to offer. Looking at Sundowns now, obviously they've been making some signings as well, but I've been getting questions as when are they unveiling the trio from Vets, Ricardo Goss, Hashim Domingo, and especially when Domingo could possibly be in the next Bafana squad as well, and also give to Motupa, because I mean, and this is a question that we also asked Coach Pizzo last week, and Coach Pizzo, you look like, you know, I don't know, when it comes to Sundowns and unveiling players, you know, I remember the other day I felt maybe they were even pushed by their fans to unveil the players, because one would think that now there's nothing stopping them from unveiling these players, you know, because these were the players that they reported to have signed long time ago, and some of the players have already been doing interviews about having joined Sundowns already. Kelvin.
Yes. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think
I
with
see it's
Sundowns.
a sticky point. No one wants to jump on it.
Yeah, I think with Sundowns, within themselves having a bigger budget, they can go for anything on the market. But then yet again, and delaying in terms of announcing all those other players that they've signed, keeps other teams actually in their foot in terms of knowing if they're gonna get that player or they're going to draft. But I think Pizzo at this point is playing a mind game, more or less. But on his plan, is actually in a rebuilding
No,
phase.
Kelvin. Let me correct you. Coach Pizzo did say that it's not him who unveils players, right? So somebody should have done that already. You understand? Because the players are already doing interviews. You know?
So is it going to be the same case as the Langerman case again, where no one took responsibility in terms of actually having Langerman on the match day? So it's going back to the same point whereby now, if Pizzo is saying that he's not the one that is announcing players or unveiling players, but he knows the players that he has signed. So I think for him, he would have said some of the interest on the players that he wanted.
Yeah, no, the feeling is that, you know, the players are already doing interviews, talking about how happy they are to have signed for Sundowns, joining a big club like Sundowns to go and play in the Champions League. So sometimes for PR purposes, and also, you know, you just have to announce the player and move on, you know. Yes. So that even the players and everyone can be at ease. You know, you can imagine how some of those players are dying to go out on social media and express themselves on having joined Sundowns, but they can't do anything now. You are going to have national squad announced just now. Safa, who should they refer to if they announce Ricardo Goss in that squad and also Domingo? Who should they refer to? There's no Beatrice Vets anymore, and also they're not under Chakuma Chama Zibandila anymore. You know what I mean? So
Unattached.
Yeah, it's not like they're unattached as well. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I guess it's one of those situations. In fact, talking about the issue of Langerman, as we know, that case is sitting today in front of the arbitrator, where it's the case of Langerman and having been on the bench on a day when he was supposed to be suspended. So yes, Celtic have brought up a complaint there. I know that people are talking about a protest, but I don't recall seeing captains signing a protest from either side on that day. So for me, that one is a straightforward complaint. So I'm sure, judging by how arbitration works, we should be expecting an outcome this weekend. We will know definitely this weekend. And also remember, arbitration when it comes to football is the final arbiter when it comes to footballing matters. Unless if you're not happy with the outcome from there, then you go to court of arbitration for sport, but you must have money to fight that. But it's going to be interesting to see how this one is going to pan out, especially with Sundowns having been declared treble winners already after beating Bloemfontein and Celtic 1-0 in that final, courtesy of that great goal which was scored by Serino in that game. But then again, still talking about Sundowns, the pursuit of Kermit Erasmus. Understand that one is hitting up already. I don't know who's going to pick up this one, but I remember a discussion we had with Stern Matthews on the platforms of SAFJA, you know, and one of the comments that he made there was that we're going to see more and more teams in the PSL selling players in this window to survive. And one thing that I've noticed, out of all the players who have to be bought, I mean, I'm not talking about free agents. It's either they are being picked up by Pirates or Sundowns. And to an extent, Kaizer Chiefs, even though they can't go publicly at this stage, players who have to be bought. So when you listen to how John Committees has also been commenting around the issue of Kermit Erasmus, saying if the money is good, he will definitely go to Sundowns. So it tells you that the so-called smaller clubs have really been hit by this COVID-19.
Yeah, I think for me, and it's not only Kermit. I mean, there's some inside info that they're inquiring about Phillies as well from Cape Town City, and John has made it clear. You even look at there was a potential move for Nodada to Turkey, so he's made it pretty clear, and that's the spine of their team. Just remember that. But he's made it pretty clear that if the money is right at the end of the day now, he has to, and it's now about looking at maybe potential youngsters to bring in. But a lot of clubs have been, and that is why I say that most clubs would probably, because they were affected, they would be looking at selling some players just to gather some more funds, obviously to recover from the pandemic and the COVID that we've had. So I don't think it's only Cape Town City. You will see that there will, like you said, you'll see there will be a few other clubs also that will be looking at selling. And the unfortunate part is it just looks like the only club that hasn't been affected by COVID is Sundowns, because they just like, just take whoever you have, we'll take. So your first thing is when you have your best player in your club or in your team for last season, first thing you're going to do is you're going to say, Mr. Patrice Motsepe, do you want? Yes, okay, it's fine. Yeah, we'll take. You know that, because that's the first person you're going to call now. I mean, you're not going to see a deal happening where Amazulu will sell to Maritzburg. That's not going to happen. You're not going to see Maritzburg sell to Bloemfontein Celtics. No, that's not going to happen. Most clubs, the best players of last season, they're going to try and sell to the bigger clubs just to generate some more income for the new season.
If all teams right now, there was no transfer ban for one of the team, it does really look like some of these players from Cape Town City could end up in Gauteng next season. Especially, you've mentioned Nodada, you've mentioned Phyllis, you've mentioned Kermit as well. At some stage there was also likes of Dove, but those three that you've mentioned, I think them coming to Gauteng remain a huge possibility.
Yes, no, definitely, and I think it would be good. I think it would be good for somebody like Phyllis that has done consistently well for Cape Town City over the last 2-3 seasons. to try a new and different chapter and journey. And I feel a lot more clubs. But for me, Valili, to be honest, I think a lot of clubs are also going to look at who the big clubs are signing and then request loan moves, because you don't have to pay a fee for the loan. So you just pay the salary. You understand? So what a lot of the smaller clubs I feel is going to maybe do is, okay, Sundowns, take whoever you want, Pirates, Chiefs, whoever's left over that you don't want at Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns, okay, who can we get on loan? Who can we get? Because now it's just salaries that you are paying. It's not really transfer fees that you are paying. Do you understand? So I think that is maybe what a lot of the other clubs are going to do as well when it comes to reinforcing their own teams, is to see what the top 3 clubs are gonna use as exodus players, and then see who they can take on loan. Like, for example, you were saying now, Chiefs can sign whoever they want, but they can't register the players. So sign whoever you want. We'll take them on loan, because all we're doing now is just paying, obviously, salaries at the end of the day, which is cost effective for the smaller clubs.
Very interesting. But then again, how do you balance this one? Yes, it's this challenging period that we're going through now. And maybe the clubs, they'll try and absorb the costs for now and go down to the amateur ranks in terms of getting some more players or pick up free agents then there. But whilst they are still doing that, behind the scenes, what else can they do to make sure that for the following season now, they'll be in a better position to be competitive on the market?
It's going to be very difficult, especially for, like we say, the small, not so the big teams, because I think the only way, like you said, is to try and get free players, or try to go down to the development and try to bring in the ones that they think that they are ready to come and then compete in the PSL. Otherwise, spending a lot of money, it's going to be a huge problem, considering that we've been in this pandemic. So I think getting the players that you think that will be a hit next season, which is going to be fine. Can you survive in the PSL? Yes, we can. And then next season, then we can look forward to buying new players. And but now I think it's all about getting the free players and going to the development, trying to get the youngsters that are already knocking in to play in the PSL.
Just before we go to our last point, because I know that Shoaib has to leave in the next 9 minutes. So and also understand there's an update from the case of Celtic. As I had just said a few minutes ago, that was just a complaint, because the way the protest was done was just not what it was supposed to, how they started to go about it. And I think now they've lost the case because, as we know, the protest was supposed to have been done at least 30 minutes before the game. So Sundowns are the treble winners, and that is not going to change. But I think heads must roll and how they dealt with this administratively at the club.
Are they not going to be fine?
I think in terms of the PSL, in terms of misconduct, but I think on the main charge, which was the issue of what Celtic wanted to do for feature, that one is not going to happen. But definitely there must be a fine that is accompanying this, because they have broken the rules of the game.
Bad laws, yeah.
Yes. But then again, now let's come to the big one, yeah. And I think let's start with the man who's been making headlines on the Twitter sphere. From what I understand, having been involved in this voting process for a very long time, as part of the rules, one of the first thing, it's around the percentages of matches played. Now, when I'm going to see a player who's only played 4 matches the whole season in the team of the season, hello, what are we talking about here?
I wonder who that is. I wonder who that is.
Yeah, is it because no, Madelam, we were in the development structures together? I mean, you know. But
Let's bring it on, Mr. Kelly. Let's bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah,
Bring it on.
not
Let's hear
to be more
what
personal.
Kelvin was saying.
Yeah, not to be more personal. As you were preparing your team of the season, what were you looking at? What came into mind?
Leadership. Number one for me was leadership. I see the percentage in terms of what they're saying. That's totally fine. But if I look at it in terms of if things were structured in a different way, yes, maybe I would have feel that maybe I would have gone for maybe Onyango. But for me, as a keeper, any day I would actually bring him in.
But wait,
So
are we basing this on performance from this past season?
No, as you rightly pointed out now when you said it comes to a percentage. I think that's one I fell short on that in terms of the candidates that I can actually have to put up forward or find a fit for my team, so to say, that is actually going to do the right job for me. But yeah, nonetheless, yes, I see the point, and I think one of the keepers that I would have actually brought in substitute of that would be Ofori, or I can bring in Onyango.
Aha. So I'm giving you a second chance. Who's your goalkeeper of the season? In fact, who's your goalkeeper in your team?
Goalkeeper of my team should be definitely Onyango.
Onyango. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The power of Randrana. We've made Kelvin to change.
Okay, I think the thing is here, people go too personal when it comes to Kune, because I don't know, maybe it's from another team, or as we rightly said right now, where it said it goes in terms of percentage. Okay, fair enough. I understand that, and I think for me, again, I have to correct that, and then I'll actually put up in terms of a person that have done more better than him in terms of the percentage ones. But when you talk about in terms of leadership and all the dynamics that I know of his pedigree, I would put him in anything.
Yeah, I'm just trying to check if you are still with your team. And then, not really explaining your back four.
Back four, I'll still have Maela, and then on the left, and then center back, I'll have Sachayo. I'll have Sachayo, and then I will have what's this guy from Ajax now? The tall center back.
Tarek Felix.
Tarek Felix. Yeah. And then on the right, I'll have Mkize. On the right, I'll have Mkize. In the middle, I'll still I'll keep Nodada, and I'll keep also Jali. And then on the wings, I'll still have Ulani on the side, and then I will have on the left, I will have Hoto. Up front, I will have Serino, and I will have Nduli.
Your team doesn't have Mshishi.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey, this guy.
Okay.
So yeah, for
I like. What are you saying, Shoaib?
No. I was just going to wrap up with mine, and also just
Yes. Yeah. Because I like your explanation to say because people were asking why. I think I saw some comments from Sundowns fans, and I like your I liked your response to say you were picking up best players from their teams. So let's go with yours again.
Yes, no, you see, that is what I'm saying is maybe I didn't understand what is the PSL team of the season. So I had a lot of fights with regards to my goalkeeper, Richard Ofori. Richard has been exceptional for Maritzburg. Now, I got questions. Oh, who won the most trophies? Now, obviously, if we're gonna go with who won the most trophies, I have to take the whole Sundowns team. So if you're gonna tell me, okay, who's your PS team of the season, then now how can I just exactly? No,
I would have
because
chosen Sundowns myself.
yes, now that's what I'm saying. So what I'm trying to explain to them is that I pick the best players out of their team. So for example, Sundowns, you can't tell me Lila Kay must be in my team because Lila Kay has not been consistent the whole season. So how am I going to pick Lila Kay as my left back? So for me is Richard Ofori was my number one keeper. Ronwen Williams would have been my second choice. My right back, it's a little bit questionable. I went with Mkhize. I will go with Frosler, but Frosler in the bio bubble changed positions. So as the right back, yes, he was good, but he changed position. Centre back,
you prefer him as a right back. If you prefer him as a right back, put him as a right back in your team.
Yes, look, between the two, because also, yes, and that's why I'm saying, I will admit that they brought to my attention that Mkhize was injured for a while. So I took that into consideration. So yes, I will bring in Frosler as my right back in place. My centre backs was the Ryuk, which I think did exceptional. He had about, what, 5 man of the matches this whole season?
Yeah.
And I mean, what other central defenders got?
We're not going to debate how these men of the match awards are selected anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to, but what I'm saying is he got it.
Yeah, but it's a top player.
Yeah. And then, okay, my next one was, yes, maybe I rethought Cardoso because I thought that Chiefs' defense was quite solid and he played most of their games. So he must have played a good role in their defense with Hapai. If I would probably also look at somebody like Katsuayo. Look, what they also don't understand is that we need to go back into 6 months ago when was our last games. So most people are only looking at bio bubble, and Mashishi didn't start the bio bubble really well. Nascimento was injured, so I'm not going to justify, but what I'm going to say is I look at Tariq Phillips is my next one because he's done exceptionally well. For Cape Town City, I would replace Cardoso with him. My left back is always going to be Glanti, consistent. He gives me a solid 6.5, 7 out of 10 performance every game. So what more do I want? I can't take Jagan Sasman. I can't take Lila Kay, which is also in the top. If I look at Supersport, Bashera, also inconsistent. I'm not going to justify. Then I was hit by why Sereno not in my team. Now I had Mango, Nurkovic, and Tembazwane, I think, was my front three, if I'm not mistaken. Because I had Cole, Ralani, and Cape Town City's new bad boy. That is why they're selling Nodada now. The new bad boy is taking over Nodada's spot, Ndashani.
Yes, Mdanzane, yeah.
Yes, there we go. He's the new. And I understand he only played well from the beginning of the season. So him, I might take out and bring in Klompo Kakana as my replacement there. So to all the Sundowns fans, Klompo's in. He's out because he only did well from January. He only played half. So I apologize to all of them. But I still stick with my guns is the best players of their perspective teams is where I looked at it.
I know you have to bounce, but the man here who doesn't want to give us his 11 just before we finish, I'm not going to leave you out of this one, Eddie. Just a quick one on your PSL 11, please.
Okay. Goalkeeper, I'll go for Ofori, obviously, and then on the right, Mkhize. My 2 center backs will be Katsuayo, and I will give it to Deruk, the boy from Maritzburg, and then on the left, I will give it to Ed Nilsson from Cape Town City, and then obviously it's a 4-4-2, and then on the right, I'll put in Sereno, and then between Manyama and Ralani, I would say Okay, I will give it to Manyama and Lishopo Kekan, and then on the left I will have Tembazwane, and then up front I will have Mango and
Shalulile.
Yeah, and Velile, today
yeah.
at least we've got more people that are tuned in just because of what it did. So it's another way. It's a marketing strategy. Yeah, we got it right.
I guess. Look, this is a selection. It's a personal selection. You know, it's your opinion at the end of the day. You know, but we sometimes we can guide your opinion. But in this case, it's your opinion. If somebody is not happy, give us the starting 11. You know, give us your PSL 11. But I just want Eddie to finish before we wrap up. To finish, you had Mango and who up front? Eddie?
We lost him again.
Yeah, are you back, Eddie?
No, we lost him.
Yeah. I'm back.
Okay, so you had Mango and who up front?
Shilulile.
Oh, Shalulile. Yes.
Yes.
So what have you done with Nukovic? You put him in the midfield?
On the bench.
No,
on the bench. Yes.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, as you say, you know,
Mango and Shalulile are kind of the same type of strikers.
Listen, as long as I can have the people that would assist them in terms of giving them those through passes to score goals, it's fine with me. Because if I can have players that will run at the defenders, then I'm okay.
Okay. Typical Orlando Pirates man, running football. Yeah, well, gents, thanks so much for the contribution in this edition. It's been good, it's been great. Next Wednesday, when the PSL chairman addresses the presser, we will know about the prize money. Maybe we'll move to 20 million. Who knows?
Who knows?
So when the season is going to start again, looking forward to that. We are looking forward to see possibly maybe around the 17th or 18th of October. But let's wait and see how the PSL is going to come up on that announcement. Otherwise, it's been good. It's been great. Let's continue to monitor and see what's happening with the movements at the clubs. I know that everyone is waiting for the transfer ban appeal at Court of Arbitration for Sport for Kaizer Chiefs. The outcome is not out yet. You know, things that cast can take long sometimes, but maybe by next week we'll finally know. Otherwise, Pashash.